Hello, evening everyone. Hello, Moira.
Hi, Jackie. Hello, everybody.
Hello. This is Moira from Canada, but oddly enough, used to live in the UK. Well, actually, Catherine's not with us tonight, but she is getting the recording of this. But yeah, was a friend of Catherine who lives just up the road from me, and you were in like the Midlands with her, weren't you?
Yes, yes. Yeah. Oh, I
Such
lived,
a
I lived there
small,
15 years. I have beautiful memories of England. Yeah.
wow, lovely. How long have you been in Canada now?
8 years.
8 years. Where's that? I remember you going.
Yeah, it's gone fast. Yeah.
Oh my goodness. So yeah, delighted that Moira's joining us this evening. And so we've done a talk before, but tonight we're doing, or Moira's going to talk to us about this wonderful book that well, it was your idea,
Yes.
and then
Yes.
it's all color therapy. You'll explain this, but within the book, but also like for anyone that's wanting to write a book, you're
Mm.
going to explain this is such lovely baby steps to get onto it. So, yeah, if you'd
Yeah.
like to say a few words about you and all what you do, Maura, because you do so much.
Well, you'll see on the back here, I've got a banner up here that says Color Chat. So I do a broadcasting show as well, which features on bringing people in that are experts in color to come and talk to me, and we have this conversation about color and share, just what the psychology of color means and what the spiritual component of color is. So I've been doing various shows over the years, but the Color Chat is the one I'm currently working with. And then Amy Bell's on the call. She and I have a show which we've just parked for a while we had this book project to complete, because Amy is actually the designer of the book that I want to talk about tonight. And we have one called, the colors behind the brand. So we take the spiritual color and we apply it to corporates and businesses and spiritual businesses. What does it mean with your color logos, your colors, your websites, and how to use that? And and yeah, color just goes into everything. We've got Sherry here. She's a feng shui specialist, and she's actually busy writing courses and training material on how you combine the ancient art of feng shui with color. So it's just an incredible, your color just can just work with anything, it really does. So I've been working with color and the color mirror system for about 20 years. It's my passion. And I can't imagine doing anything else with my life. I really can't. It's everything I see through the lens of color. If I see a politician on the news and he says something, I check the color tie he's wearing and I go, you're lying, you bugger. I can just pick it up from that color you're wearing. Or if somebody is trying to sell you something, you can see whether the sell and the sale pitch is coming from their heart or, from what pattern they're operating on. I just love knowing that stuff because color gives it all away.
Oh, I love that. I love colour, absolutely. Oh my goodness. I'll just say Joe, who's on here as well, Joe Hayes, lovely friend of mine. We went to the Isle of Wight last week, I think it was, or the week before anyway, for an art class.
Oh,
And
wow.
the art that she does. So this is what I ended up with.
Oh my goodness. Wow.
And then Joe, do you just quickly want to show yours, what you did?
You got yours. Yeah.
Or if you unmute Joe, and then we can all see the one you did,
Oh, those are beautiful as well.
isn't it? And then it put
Absolutely.
what is that? Geometric symbol or whatever into the she helped show how that could work into the artwork.
Yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. And when you're looking at a piece of art like that with all the colors, everybody who looks at it gets something different out of it. So color and the color combination that hits you is the bit you need to heal or to inspire you in that moment. So that's a beautiful thing about what artists do with color and paintings like that. It means something to the creator, but it also means something to everybody who views it. And you just never know what it's going to be. Everyone finds something different in it.
Beautiful, lovely. Well, thank you, Moira. I'm really looking forward to this evening because yeah, obviously the last time we spoke it was so where you're also such an intuitive and a reader. you know, well, it was a really wonderful talk we did the last time. So really looking forward to this about tonight. And I know if Linda's on here, she might be getting the recording actually. Oh no, might be on here, Linda.
Fantastic.
Um, she's definitely, I think, thinking about writing a book or hoping to. I know Joe's going to write a book, or he's in the middle of writing one.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So would you like me just to get going on the
Yeah,
chat?
lovely.
You okay for that? Right. So I've written several books, and well, the three book projects I had their own reasons for coming into being, because that's what authors do. When you feel compelled to write or publish a book, there's a reason, there's something that's motivating you to do it. When I wrote my very first project, it was the Color Mirrors Oracle deck. So it had cards, and it came out of a need to simplify my life in working with color. When I was at color shows, people would look at these bottles and they'd say, "What does this mean? And what is color mirrors?" And I wish that I had this little compact bit of information that they could just purchase and walk away with and practice and learn what color therapy and spiritual psychology is about. So this came about because of that idea. I wanted to make my life simpler as a color practitioner. And the way I got into it, it was synchronistic events that led me to Neil Donald Walsh. And he was part of a book writing program in the United States. And he ended up being one of the main mentors on that program to help get a book out of you. And really that's how that happened. So that was a book writing process, and it helped me solve a problem. Then I moved to Canada 8 years ago, and nobody here knew anything about color therapy. They were still talking about the old chakra colors, where you've got red in the base, you've got green in the heart, you've got indigo in the third eye. And color mirrors is a system that's so advanced, and is very futuristic in the colors that it's teaching us, because it's teaching us how we are going to be living in the fifth dimension, in a higher dimension. And so it teaches you that your chakra colors have changed. And it teaches you that we've gone into pastel colors. And in Canada, when I try to go to events to explain to people, hey, back in England, people already know this stuff. You're in Canada, you just don't know this stuff. I thought, what can I do to just bring the energy of color in? And the communities that were the main speaker events or the main gathering points were entrepreneurs. So I thought I would combine a book and write something to do with helping entrepreneurs and help them in their businesses through energy, but bring the pastels and bring these new colors in. So I created 8 Colors of Prosperity. Again, I did this through a book writing program through a local entrepreneur here in Canada. He had a book writing program, and I thought, well, I don't know how to publish a book, and I don't know, where to start, what's the middle, what's the end. And I did the program, and out came this book, and it happened, relatively quickly with the help of a program. So then just before COVID came, I had this download of information, and Gargoyles started speaking to me. I just came across an image on Google, and this gargoyle started speaking to me, and I thought, okay, Moira, you're now, you're really going onto the woo-woo side of life here. If you've got stone statues from churches beginning to give you messages. But I contacted Melissa Jolly, the founder of Color Mirrors, who's my mentor, and I said, Melissa, some weird stuff is going on. These really ugly looking things that I'm kind of afraid of in a way are beginning to give me messages. And she said to me, Moira, just begin writing. So I did. And this time there was no thought behind writing. There was no intention. It was just things were coming through, and I was compelled to write it down. And within 3 weeks, I had the black deck, the Color Your Shadow deck, which was all about shadow works and images of gargoyles. And color, of course, plays a part in that. And that I self-published that with the help of Amy Bell, who's on the call today. She helped with the design work and getting the book laid out. And I found a printer who would print them for me. So that one I self did. I didn't have any guidance from anybody. I did, however, do what I learned from publishing the first 2 projects, is get an editor. get an editor to read through everything. So I got a spiritual editor, somebody who would understand the language of spirituality and shadows. And I also just got a plain old English.com grammar mistake fixing kind of editor, somebody that can really, get to the nitty gritty of it. And then, of course, Amy worked on it for about a year as well, getting the design right. And she was also like a visual editor. So it's very good if you have graphic design in it, that you get somebody who is a graphic designer by trade, that they can look at your images and make sure that that comes out balanced as well. So there I sat, Jackie, with three book projects from different kind of impetus points to get them created. And when I sat back and looked at those three projects, I had learned so much from it. I had grown. Every color that I wrote about, I processed that color. Every spiritual hurdle or issue or pattern that I worked and wrote about, it did something to me, and I grew stronger. I find that writing spiritual work speeds up your spiritual evolution. And it's, unless you do it, you don't know it's happening, so I'm sure that Joe, who's writing, is probably finding that as well. It makes you self-reflective, and there's something that happens when you write. And I wanted to share this process and make it available without without asking people to go to somebody else to learn how to write. I tried it. I had a mentoring group here in Canada, invited somebody around who did a talk to them and said, I can help you write your book. But it didn't feel right. Something was missing. And I thought, oh, you know what, Moira, you can do this. You can take a group and help them pull it together. You get an editor in, you get a designer in, you pull it together and get, have people experience writing. And that's really how the 11 Pearls of Wisdom came about and started. What was for me very important in writing is, because I've got the color, you must think about what your speciality is. What is the thing you are teaching through your writing in your book? And you must honor that in your book. So, for example, I couldn't do a collaboration book like the other collaboration books that you find out there, because they're all black and white. The authors, there's a black and white picture of them, and there's black and white writing, and they're all small little books. And I felt color had to have a grand presence, and it had to be celebrated. So I knew it had to be a coffee-sized table book. It had to be big. And I knew the authors, that their images had to be larger than life. They had to be big in the book. They had to also pop that color through. So that was what was different about this as a collaboration project to the kind of collaboration books that are out there. I think that for anybody who wants to write a book, writing a book where you have got to fill all these pages can be very, very daunting. Whereas if you go into a collaboration project, you maybe have 2.5, maybe 3,000 words you have to write, which makes it a lot easier. It makes it that it's not so frightening to approach the subject of writing and publishing your story. So I would recommend that you get it onto a book program if you're not sure how to begin or how to publish, if you're not sure how the process works. And I would recommend a collaborative book just to get the taste of publishing, just to get that experience of what it's like to write. And then from there, you will find that maybe you will just go and write and publish your own full-sized book, your own story. So that's kind of the background.
And how did you come up with the title? Because it's beautiful, just even the title.
Yeah, so 11 Pearls of Wisdom, the book, the book started where I was going to, it evolved. This is the other thing about writing books. Your book will evolve, don't resist it. If you're wanting to take the book in a certain direction, give it a certain title, and you start getting writer's block, or you find things aren't flowing, it could be that you need to go back to the drawing board because something else wants to come through. So when we started this book project, it wasn't 11 Pearls of Wisdom. It was going to be a book celebrating spiritual entrepreneurs that I had interviewed on one of my social media shows, the Magenta Show. It was going to be a Magenta Show book. And it stopped. The whole thing just died. And then COVID happened and the whole thing just stalled. And I couldn't get, whatever I tried to get into it, I hit a wall. And then one day I surrendered. I just said to the universe, okay, right. I say God, but we want to be multi-spectrum here and go universe. But I went, God, this book's not happening. I've got people who are already paid authors, invested in it. They want the book to happen. What am I doing wrong? What needs to shift and change? And I handed it over. And then I stopped thinking about it. And actually, for several months, I didn't even put any energy into it. I asked the authors who had invested to please be patient with me. Things are evolving and changing. This is the nature of spirit work, and just to wait. And then one day, Amy and I were having a conversation, and we were going, okay, this book needs to be written by color experts, not just any entrepreneur. They need to be written by color entrepreneurs, people who actually work in the field of color, and specifically the color mirror system. They need to know about color psychology. And as we began hitting that stride and falling into that thought, I realized that there were 11 pearls in the color mirror system as an extra set of bottles. And right at that point in time, they were pretty impactful. My son was asking to bathe in a black pearl, and another practitioner had come up with this glorious, they call it the chocolate pearl because it's just like chocolate. And there was just these incredible, beautiful, here's the lilac pearl. Incredible pearl bottles. There were 11 of them. And being a lover of numbers and numbers working out and numerology, 11 just hit me. I just went, of course, 11 pearls of wisdom. And there is a book that's already been written about color mirrors. I'm not sure even where I put it down now, but it's called The Wisdom of Color Mirrors. So it kind of played on that theme of color being a wise thing to work with. So I checked with Melissa that she was okay that we used the wisdom word as well. And that's really how 11 pearls of wisdom came about.
Love it.
But I did something sneaky because I'm the publisher. I can do that, and I'm a teacher. I'm a spiritual teacher. I want you to heal through this process, not just write. I want you to actually do some spiritual work, knuckle down and do some work, so and grow. So I had these 11 authors write their chapter without knowing what color they were writing for. They had no clue when they wrote their chapters which color pearl they were actually going to be featured under. They were just told, write your story. Write a story. You've got 2,500 to 3,000 words. Get it out. And once I read your story, I will feel the color energy that comes off it, and that's the pearl you're going to be. So I was very brave doing that, but in the background, I started panicking. Oh my God, what if they're all turquoise pearls? What if they all write a turquoise story? Then I'm going to have no other colors, no other chapters. But I surrendered. I surrendered to God, and I said, okay, universe, do your magic here and make sure that they write 11 different color themed stories. And you know what they did? It was the most gobsmacking moment on the creation of this project that suddenly everybody just had a color that they were writing about, and all 11 pearls were covered. It was like magic, Jackie.
Oh, fun. I mean, just feels so right.
Yeah. Magic happens.
Did you know yours was the black one? You obviously knew you'd be.
No, I wasn't actually going to be an author. I'm actually the publisher. I'm the mentor for the project. I didn't want to write, but we had a young girl who was going to do the black pearl, who ended up getting COVID, pneumonia, nearly died, and kind of had to pull out. And then we sat with nobody with a black pearl, and I thought, oh God, I'm going to have to just step in and do this. So I really just at the last minute just said I'll do it. And of course, the minute I said that, I had writer's block, blank. What the heck am I going to write about? Because it was the black pearl was the only one that didn't have a story. And I do shadow work. So I thought, oh, this should be easy. I could write about black. I do shadow work. No, nothing. Blank, blank, blank. Day after day, I'd wake up and go, I've got nothing in my head. And I started panicking because we were getting to that deadline where Amy needed to be given the chapters so she could start doing the actual layout of the, of the pages and the columns and start working with the Kindle book publishing platform. So, and then just one day, just suddenly, I just had this message saying, you've got it, just write. And that, it was good to know how to write, but what came out, I was not happy with. Because if you think about it, I wrote an educational book for entrepreneurs in there. I wrote a self-help summary tool of a color system that wasn't founded by me. It was founded by Melissa Jolly. I wrote something I channeled. Now, in this one, I had to write my life story. I had to write something that had happened to me. There's my chapter, the black chapter. And I decided to write about depression and the deep dark night of the soul, and the difference between the two, because a lot of people don't know that there's a difference between depression and the deep dark night of the soul. And I wrote about what it was like to be depressed and what it was like to go through a deep dark night of the soul where you just want to die. I mean, there's just no impetus for you to want to stay on the planet. You just want to die. And I wrote an incident of child abduction, and I was going to write a few other things, but I thought that was enough meaty stuff in one chapter. The rest can come in a book later on. And put it out there and sharing my story, my private experiences, and how I got through it, and how I use that experience in my therapy practice when I work with people who are depressed or suicidal. I've had such amazing feedback on that chapter because I shared something that had actually happened to me. It wasn't educational, it was real. So I'm very glad in the end I did get to contribute to this book and be as an author.
Beautiful. Beautiful. I mean, like, black is not a colour I ever particularly would want to go for in any way. And yet there's such a wisdom in that one. And to start the book with that, it's like you have to start with the shadow self, isn't it?
Yes. Yeah. I always encourage when I do teaching to start at black and really look at the depth, because if you think about it, black is where all our gifts are hidden. If you're a child and you're an artist and that gets squashed when you're very little, where do you bury that talent? You bury it where you can't see it, in the darkness. So black is symbolic of where our gifts and talents lie. And really going and starting with black says, it's almost a statement saying, I want to find out what I'm really about. I want to find out who I really am, and what are my strengths, what are my talents, what are my skills, what are my soul gifts. They get hidden in the black. Good place to go and find them.
Beautiful.
But
How have the cards about the not gremlins, gargoyles,
the
how have they
gargoyles.
taken off?
A lot of people say they don't like the images. There's an image for you there. They struggle with the images, but the images are so symbolic. I mean, if you look at the victim card, you can see here that the victim, the gargoyle being overpowered by this beastly, feeling of power. So all the gargoyles actually have a symbolic meaning. And if you travel to the different religious buildings and places where gargoyles appear, and you look at them, you will notice that they represent shadow patterns, and they are on the outside of these buildings. They're not on the inside. The angels on the inside. The angel statues on the inside of the churches and the holy ground. On the outside sits all these gargoyles saying to you, this is what you come to heal in the sacred space. So I think gargoyles are very symbolic of, again, the stuff that sits in our darkness that we can begin to make friends with and begin to integrate. Because your shadow, you can't eliminate it. You can't kill it off. You actually have to make friends. So if you have a look, for example, here at the victim card, the top lines here, and it's a pink card, it's a pink pattern in color psychology. You rescue others and affirm victimhood. You are unknowingly passive aggressive. So those are the pointers and the alerts you can have that you're playing the victim. When you master your victim pattern, the next two lines kick into place. I help only when asked. In other words, I'm not going to rescue you because that disempowers you. And I am an empowered mentor. So ultimately, people who go through life as a victim, the ultimate goal to get to is to be a mentor, is to use those experiences being a victim to empower and help others.
Oh, that's like a part in the book when it says, it's not happening to me, it's happening for me. Well, I've heard that before, but yeah, that's in the book as well, in your wisdom book.
That is Catherine Bork, and she's written our red chapter. And of course, she was the red pearl because red is all about the family. So I'll just get it for you here.
I mean, the pictures, the artistry in they're wonderful. how they've captured the colour of the bottle, but also the pictures within it. Yeah.
And what Amy did was she put in all the artists at the back to, you know, to honor the artists,
Yes.
actually,
Yes.
because even anybody associated with a project that's spiritual, even the photographers will have a moment of healing, an opportunity to heal something, because they're working with the energy of healers. They're taking photographs of the healers who are writing the stories. So even they get something out of it. They might not be consciously aware of it, but they said yes and turned up and took those photographs, so they are getting a hit of something.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it's perfect that you've done that gargoyle pack, because who would even think of doing such a pack? And then, yeah, this
And then these little
beautiful.
bubbles, these are Amy's, this is part of Amy's design. Her concept is to put these bubbles in and quotes, little pearls of wisdom. So through they are dotted throughout the book. You have these little extracts from the stories that give you wisdom. And then even at the bottom, we have a pearl of wisdom, which is related to mythology and different cultures. For example, in the red one, it says pearls strengthen relationships. To give a pearl as a gift symbolizes timeless love. So we put that in, and we put meditations in, poems, prayers. And it's all related to the color. And then to honor Color Mirrors and Melissa as the founder of the system, each bottle that we have as our theme, the message of the bottle is there, so that you actually can really yourself go deep into and just sit and meditate with the image of the bottle and get something out of it.
Love it. Absolutely. I really do. Obviously, you can see from the picture that I did, I love colour. You know I do anyway.
I know
But
you do.
yeah, each one, I'll just put my glasses back on. But like you say, at the bottom of each picture of each colour bottle, it's saying what it helps you with, releasing judgments, going into the void, or strength, love, and wisdom, family dynamics. Yeah. So each one, it really is wonderful. Yes.
Yeah. But there's a hidden gem in this book which I really would love to share with you, and that is I've managed to convince the founder Melissa Jolly of Color Mirrors to write a chapter, and she wrote about the Rose Gold Lady. And of course, the Rose Gold Lady is the mother of God. So this is huge. To think about this. We all worship God, but did you know he has a mother? So who created the universe? Because men don't give birth, women do. So she has this incredibly powerful chapter that takes you into that concept of everything being created from female. But we've had the patriarchal rule, which was, oh no, women can't be that powerful. Men created it, God created. So it's really amazing to just contemplate that shift that we're already feeling into that feminine divine energy. And what she wrote here is going to blow your mind, and especially her meditation. If you do her meditation, it is absolutely going to elevate your energy, just probably straight into the fifth dimension, because that's what we're busy doing, is we're changing our energies. So her writing in this book was just the biggest gift that we as a collective creative author group could have ever experienced. We're so grateful that she was part of it.
Did she take much convincing?
Melissa has a phrase that says, "I can't say no to Moira." I kind of use that. I said, I know she was going to say no.
Yeah. Oh,
but
she
doesn't like photographs being taken. So the fact that she went and had a professional photograph taken, showed that she really was putting her heart and soul and support into the project with us, because that was important. That and you know what? I suggest you do this. Spend that extra little bit of money and put color in your books somewhere. If you love color, put color in. It doesn't cost that much more to do color than it is to do black and white printing, and it's worth it. Put your photograph in color. Put images and diagrams or whatever visual tools you can into the book. There's so many people that sit with a book and they can't read just pages and pages of script. They need the break for their minds and their eyes to be able to see images, to be able to see photographs, or even just if you put flowers in, put something in, but make it color. It makes a huge difference to to the book, and for people to see you in your glorious color, but put a professional photograph in, because in that you're going to grow as well. because putting a little grainy snapshot from your iPhone in is not going to cut the job. You really want to go to a photographer, pay the extra money, and have makeup and hair done if you need, or go to a photographer that can paint, can fix things up, and have a professional photograph taken and have that appear in the book, because your energy that comes from, look at the pride I'm taking in being a human. That's kind of a unicorn energy. The pride I want to show in being a human, and how beautiful it is to be a human, and I'm so colorful. That's the energy you put into the book. But if you are somebody that's shy of photographs, that's shy of putting their presence forward, this is going to be another opportunity for you to grow.
Beautiful. Yeah, absolutely. Has anyone got any questions? I mean, you're happy to take any questions, aren't you,
Yes,
Moira?
absolutely, please.
Yeah. So by all means, if anyone's got anything they want to ask, or if anything's come up for them, other than that, we'll just carry on talking about, well, I guess anything that you want to talk about. But yeah, in the book.
I can read you a little bit. There is the introduction to the book, which is author's always asking me to read that. The 11 stories, it's in the introduction page, the 11 stories compiled in this book are the real life experiences of the authors. They did not find it easy to share their stories with you, dear reader. These are ordinary people, private people, and for most of them, this was their first writing project. Being invited to come together and put into publication their personal and at times intimate experiences was a huge ask. Many had to overcome shyness, fear of being seen, and fear of being judged. Overcoming these fears is part of every writer's journey in the process of becoming a published author. So for me, that actually happened. So last week, my stepmother and father came from South Africa to Detroit in the USA. My brothers just immigrated there, and we decided to come from Canada to Detroit, meet them there, and have a little family reunion. And my sister, who lives in Africa, said, please give Mom a copy of your book. I can't get it on Amazon there, and so ask her to bring it home for me. So I gave my stepmother the book. She left it lying around. My dad picked it up. My dad does not know I had depression. He does not know I had an abduction attempt when I was 7 years old. He didn't know any of that shit. Nothing. It was a huge surprise when he read it. So the unthinkable happened. I was discovered by my family. And I took a deep breath when my stepmom said, oh, Dad read your book. And he loves it. He read it from cover to cover, all the stories in 2 hours flat. And my next thing was just like, and what did he think of it? And she said, oh, no, he liked the photographs. He said it was very well written and the photographs are beautiful. And that's all I got from him. I have no idea what his actual response, reaction, or feeling was about my story, that, my father didn't even know. But that is sometimes the thing that stops authors from telling their stories, because sometimes what you're writing about, your family knows nothing about you. They don't understand that. And it's scary to think that you are going to put a part of you in print and they might see it. So it happened to me. I survived it. I'm here. I think my dad is still talking to me. I'm not sure, but we're okay.
Oh, wouldn't you like to have a conversation with him, Moira, about it?
I would, and I will wait until I visit him in South Africa to do that. When he's on his way back now, traveling back. I wasn't able to go back to Detroit and speak. He's somebody that doesn't do texts and that kind of communication. We always communicate through my stepmom, so it's not easy. But it would
Honestly.
be, yeah. It also doesn't really matter, Jackie, because I got my story out. He knows it. He didn't have anything much to say about it. It must be okay.
Oh, absolutely. I'm just running at the minute. I'm running my happiness and Ho'oponopono course, 6-week course. And I
Oh,
think it was in the first week I relayed a story that's in Be Happy book by Robert Holding, where a girl, she went on the happiness course, and you were asked to find out about your family. What's your family story? So what role do you play within your family? Are you the victim? Are you the helper? Are you the comedian? Different roles that we take on within the family. And it made her start to think about, she didn't know her dad at all. He was a very quiet man. And when she was about 11, I think, there was a work due, and they were invited to take the children along for the day. And she went because, like, even though she had no communication with her dad at all, really, just thought of him as a quiet man that she didn't disturb. But she went because it was a day off school, like she could get out of school for the day. So, and when she got to work with him, he was the life and soul of the party. Everyone was pleased to see him. He was pleased to see everyone. And it was just a really, and then they came back home and he was just quiet again. She just went back to, she didn't even know his real name till she was about 16. And
Wow.
then after looking into the family roles, she said, I think we're ready to have the conversation now. Because then the mother said his brother died when he was 11. The brother died in a car accident. There was no conversation around that, but she did wonder, was that why the dad was like it? Like he just felt depressed that he'd lost his brother. But she didn't know, so she was going to broach it and have this conversation.
Yeah.
And it was really, quite a meaningful story, really.
Yeah, and that 11, of course, dying at the age of 11 or anything happening to you with 11, it's 11 is duality, dark and light. And it sparks judgments and it sparks confusion around, and questions around, is God benevolent or is God punishing? And, how can you take an innocent child away? And yeah, it could definitely affect your psyche for the rest of your life. Yeah.
Oh.
Wow.
But then to have children of his own and not bring any joy to them.
Yeah, because what
So
if
yeah,
you dare to love them and then they die in an accident?
oh my gosh,
And they
yeah,
have to go through what
exactly.
I went through. So, people put up those emotional blocks because they don't want to feel that pain, or they don't want to subject people they genuinely love to a similar level of pain. They want to pass it on. Yeah. Anyway,
Once the family's got, if you lost your mum or dad or both, you can't ask those questions, can you? So it's all very poignant, isn't it?
it is, yeah. We've got a hand up.
Oh,
Jan.
Yeah, thank you. So first of all, what ladies you've just spoken about, I've had that experience. My sister died at 12. My parents just calmed down. They didn't speak about her at all. But I kind of, being a psychic medium, she does come through when I have a reading quite often, and shows herself as a grown up rather than a child. But I've never been able to have those conversations with my mum. Until my cousin was murdered last year. And I said, Mum, you've got to reach out to my uncle and aunt. It was my dad's brother's family. And she said, well, if I got to say to them, how would I know what to say to them? And I just thought, this is a bit weird. Why wouldn't you reach out to them? And then I realized it would probably bring too much pain up for her that she's been holding in for all those years. So then
oh my,
I should have understood that straight away, really. But, so now we as the daughters, the sort of like the nieces, we reach out to them and we talk to them, and I've offered to do a reading for them. So yeah, so I can really empathize with your stories on that. The question I had, Moira, is that I'd like to publish a book of my poetry, but some of it is quite dark because of depressions and anxiety and dealing with humans who aren't very nice people.
Yeah.
So I usually write when I'm in a bit of a heightened emotional state.
Yeah.
So my concern is whether it's appropriate really to publish
That's
some of
not
those
for you.
things,
That's
because
not
it
for
might
you
make
to
me look a little
decide.
bit miserable.
No, let it go. That's not for you to
Yeah,
decide.
because
What
I'm also
comes
quite
through,
funny, so some of them is
yeah.
more limericks and stuff. But
Well, whatever you have written, somebody needs to read it. It wouldn't otherwise have ended up on paper in front of you.
yeah,
So get courage together and maybe theme it with some color to lighten it up a little bit and put it into the book, and know that somebody who is in a dark mood, who wants to lash out, is reading something where you've done that, and they find freedom in that feeling of, and go, it's safe to express this because you expressed it in paper. Somebody that needs to be uplifted and have a bit of a giggle and a laugh will read one of your more humorous
yeah,
poems, and it will give them that little outlet. In the book, the authors, 11 people wrote 11 different stories, and I thought to myself, they're all at different levels. They all have different types of stories. For example, Dwayne, he's our only male contributor in the book, wrote about his career and wrote nothing spiritual. He wrote about his career and being fired from his job and being fired from being a husband, you know, and literally, and that's what he wrote. And I've had so many people come to me and say that's the best chapter in the book. You know, and I thought, did you get that? You cannot put a judgment call, because when you are writing and you're self-publishing, you are also the publishing house, right? As well as the author, if you're going to do it yourself. So you kind of have to put your publishing hat on and go, what if I was publishing this book and somebody gave me these stories, would I put them out there, and why would I put them out there? So you've got to almost disassociate yourself from the author part of yourself and move into the publisher zone. And trust that what you've created needs to be read and seen by other people.
Okay, thank you very much.
Because honestly, pearls of wisdom doesn't just come from learning about the Mother of God and having those spiritual revelations and learning about depression or family ties. It can come from losing your job.
Yeah.
You learn, you get your pearls of wisdom from losing your job. And everything so I know that every single author who contributed to this book their story is invaluable, and your poems, every single one you write, is invaluable, the dark to the light. And one last thing I want to say about that is it's time people started speaking about the dark stuff. We're heading into a very dark, violent phase of human consciousness. It is happening. You can see it, the mental health. You can see it. I mean, just put the TV on. You can see it. We've moved into that energy of profound psychological stress and change. So it's very important that we begin to have these conversations so we can begin to get stronger as the energies begin to be felt as more compactful and forceful in pushing us through that brink from the third to the fifth dimension.
I also wanted to do a pack of oracle cards. I've been thinking about, I'm an artist, an abstract artist. So I had similar kind of self-doubts about putting my art out there. But I thought I'd call it, and I did research this to see if anybody else had done a pack by this name. I was just going to call it the Art of Positivity. You kind of counterbalance that and then find lots of positive quotes from different people, Dalai Lama and all of those people, and check them out.
Okay, so here's
or anything like that.
Insight for you here, sweetheart. Don't quote other people, quote yourself. You have the wisdom and the knowledge in you, because people can go on Google and search for, what is these famous authors, celebrities, people said, that are quotes. They can get that off Google. You want to create something original. Put your own messages of positivity out there. And then what you do is what I did with the black box, the shadow deck, color your shadow deck. What I did with this one was I pre-sold it before I printed it, so to make sure that people were actually interested in it. So I said, if you buy a copy from me and I sell enough copies, then I have the money to go into print. So I know that all my printing costs for the first batch I had printed were covered from those sales, so that I didn't come out of pocket. So that is something I'd suggest you do as an option, because decks are expensive to print. Actually, the booklet and the cards are not expensive. It's the box. This is the challenge, getting the box done.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, my ex-husband has a company that does that. I'm not sure I'd want to contact him directly, but maybe I'll get the kids to do the mediation on that one. He owes me big time. Thank you very much.
I hope that helps anyway.
Yes, it does. Thank you very much indeed. Thank you.
It's a pleasure. Nice to chat with you, Jane.
We've got Amy with a hand up now.
Our designer. Amy is the one responsible for the beautiful layout.
Beautiful, absolutely
They're
beautiful.
Easy to read, the font, the compilation of it all. Oh my goodness. Hi, doll.
Hi. I love following Moira wherever she's talking about color, because I learn something new every single time. And you would think, after 8 years of being with her, I think I found you quite soon on after you got to Canada, maybe a year. But I immediately fell in love with all the color and the bottles and Melissa and all the group that hangs out here and around the world in color. So it is my honor to be able to bring life and make this vision come to life for all of these authors that were participating. I specifically wanted to, as Jan was speaking about her poems and the darker side of the moon that comes out, you know, I was thinking in my head immediately there needs to be art with these poems. And then you, of course, said you're an artist. So I can totally see this book being like full on color, incorporating your artwork, your poems, and marrying them together and just creating this, like, throw your bleeding heart out onto the street and just let people see it and let them feel it and let them soak into it, and hate me or lovely, I don't give a shit, because who cares? You know, it's brave to put yourself out there. It's brave to put your thoughts on paper, and then to add your artwork too. Like, why don't you just strip naked and run through the street, Jen? Like, honest to God.
You don't want to see that.
But that's what it is.
Oh no, my brain's going like this now with all these images of pages and poems and flowers and things all around it. Yeah, thank you.
I can see this happening and taking form and just being like your memoir through poem and through art.
A legacy.
Yeah, I'd like to have something to leave my kids.
Yeah, and I did write a book a long time ago, and I found as I was writing it, I was filtering myself, and it was not a nice feeling, right? Yeah. So that was about 10 years ago that I did that. I think if I was to write another one, I would like to say I would not filter myself. I would just barf it all out and suck it up, buttercup, if you can't take it, because it is my story, right? And whether it comes out in a poem or in words or art, it is a story that needs to be told to your family, to other people who are too afraid to do it themselves, and you're kind of, they're living vicariously through your words, right? So
yeah. I think I'm definitely coming into a period in my life and my spirituality where I'm doing what Moira was saying, is that sometimes if I get to a point where I can't deal with a situation, I just say, okay, I'm not meant to deal with it right now. Can you please help me? And I just give it out to the universe and wait for something to happen. And it normally does. If you ask for that help, or you say that this is I don't know where I'm going with this, then it does help. So, so yeah, thank you for the suggestions. My brain is now going mad. I need to get into the studio now. Sorry, bye.
Yeah, go get started as soon as we get off. Like, just
it's lovely and warm. It's warm and sunny in the UK now, so I can dry all of my canvases outside in the garden, hoping no flies decide to land on it and get stuck. Okay.
Well, and the other thing I wanted to mention to anyone who's thinking about writing a book is that it doesn't have to be you know, like any other book you see. You have the freedom to do what you want to do. I designed this book based on the energy of the people that came to it, not allowing Kindle or Amazon to restrict me in how I wanted to display that for these people. I owe it to these people to put the best book forward. And you can do it with color, you can do it in different sizes, you can do it with like just different shapes. Like, you have some freedom there. So if you check on Kindle, you can actually see the different sizes that are available, and then sort of work it out in your mind how it's going to be laid out. But images are always great in a book, and it just takes a little bit more skill on the production side to make sure that it all comes out looking good. For ours book, we had a soft cover and a hard cover created. Amazon did not make it very easy. We had to do 2 different layouts. So just be mindful of how you want it to end up in the person's hand. Is it going to be hardcover or soft cover? And do a little investigating beforehand. Or you can always partner with somebody that's done it before and see what that looks like, right? Like, you can give Moira a call, and you know, she has her resources available to her, and see what that looks like if you're needing.
Hang on, you are my resource. Call Amy. Behind Amy on the shelf there, you see all those magazines in the different colors. Amy has a magazine project called United Colors of Design, and every 3 months she brings out a color themed work with entrepreneurs and soulful business people and helpers and healers and artists, and just brings this incredible, you know, project together. So she knew our Kindle worked. So I was very clever. I went to Amy. I went, oh, she knows our Kindle works. I don't have to figure it out. So you want to get yourself an Amy if you're going to go with lots of colors and design and employ somebody like her. And again, you know, as I said to you, you know, I made sure that there was going to be sales when I did the deck of cards, and she helped and came up with the design of the booklets and the cards, and that there were people interested. So I knew I could pay her for the work. So there are ways around it if budgets are constrained, and there's ways of doing it just very simply, just to get your book out. Just publish a notebook, for example, but just get going, just start.
Yeah.
I do have to say that what came out of this project was when the authors got, because I didn't make all the executive decisions. We had author meetings, and I had the authors give input into their vision for the book as well. And one of the things they did was we made a united decision that we weren't going to sell this for profit. So this is a not-for-profit book. None of us are earning royalties on this book. Not one of us is earning money. We paid to do the book program. We paid the editor, the designing, the mentoring, and but none of us are actually earning any money from it. So what we ask, and this is again, it's a new concept, no one's done this before, but don't be afraid to try it, is we're saying to people, please go and buy a book on Amazon. And in the UK Amazon, I think it's a $22 something for hard copy, and about a pound, £22, and then £15 for a soft cover, is to buy it, read it, and then don't go put it away. Go and donate it to a clinic or hospice, a hospital, anywhere where there's a coffee table. You could just casually leave the book lying around, so that somebody who's sitting there going through a hell of a difficult time, you know, a struggle, a pain, facing loss, grieving, that they can just open it up and read it. Open it on any page, and a color or a message or something jumps at them, and we spread the words of hope, healing, and inspiration. So we're trying that as a concept. It's gone out to a couple of places, but it hasn't collected a momentum to kind of inspire people to do it yet. They haven't got that around them, that this is a form of charity they can do for like £15, you know. But this is why I asked Jackie, let's talk about it today, and let's tell people, you know, this is something you can do, is to pay it forward.
Love that. You got anything to say on that, Joe? Because I think that's a beautiful, lovely idea. He's a very wise man. He should have a chapter in a book. I'm thinking, should we all collaborate in our group here, you know, to get a book out?
You've given me so many bullet points. It's been absolutely extraordinary. And one thing I did learn that was, because I've got such a background, and I was struggling to put it into simplicity. And Jackie, you had someone on about how to write a book. I forget.
Nick Williams.
Yes. And he said, just take one thing and write about that, and make it simple, make your paragraphs short, have some pictures in there, and that makes a difference. And I thought, boy, that took so much stress away. And the other thing you were talking about was with color is, you know, the Bayeux tapestry, yes, which is the tapestry of life. And everybody has a role. Some people paint the heart, some people paint the head, and some people paint the shadows underneath the feet. And the shadows are just as important as the head and the eyes. It all makes up one tapestry.
That's right. Yeah. And literally that's what we have here, is we have a rainbow. We start with black, we go to copper, we go to red, we go to pink, you go into the yellow gold, you go into the green, and then you start going to the, you know, the blues, the turquoises, all those colors. They're right up until we get to the white, which actually Sherry Brose, that's on the call, wrote the white pearl. And then because we're talking about the next evolution of color, Melissa is the last chapter with the rose gold, because rose gold, none of us can see that color yet with our naked eye. We only began to see magenta and the rainbow with the naked eye in the 1980s when we had the harmonic convergence. And now this color is beginning to come in, and people are going to begin to actually see it with the naked eye. So it's the next level, the next range of color. And yeah, and definitely you can just flick through the book, and it literally is just a rainbow. Love it, Joe.
Love it.
And
Absolutely.
I know Nick Williams. I actually did it. I did his program when I lived in the UK, and we've had several chats. So I do admire him a lot. And please, he's got really good guidance and practical information to help you to get writing as well.
Oh, it was a marvelous evening he gave with Conscious Cafe, funny enough, which this is. So I don't know if you've got a question that you want to ask, and we can go out into breakout rooms, Moira, just to have so that everyone gets a voice. That was the point of Conscious Cafe as well, that we, what we've listened to, just ask a question, and it's up to people if they talk about what you've asked or whether they talk about anything else that's come up for them within this. But it's really nice within a Conscious Cafe meeting to just have a voice together. So just an equal, so I think there's 10 of us here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, probably 10. I'll just count that up, but we could go into a breakout room. Is there a question, or would it literally be anything that's come up for you within this talk that you'd like to talk to each other about and then come back and feed it? I don't know what you think on that, Moira. Is there a specific?
Absolutely. I'm game for anything.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
I don't know how to put the yellow hand up. I've been looking, thinking, where did they find the yellow hand to put up? So, sorry.
No, yeah, that's very clever.
It's on the.
Yeah. I don't know how you did that.
Screen. If at the bottom of your screen you've got the word reactions.
Bottom of the screen.
On what device? If you click on that, there'll be.
I'll do. Oh, I can do. Oh, I can do it.
Oh, that part. There you go.
Raise hand.
That one.
Moira, can I ask you a couple of quick questions?
Yes.
The name Vicky Wall, does that mean anything to you?
Yes.
Yeah. My mum trained with Vicky Wall back in must be the 80s, I guess. And obviously Vicky went blind, I believe, in the end. Yes. And you'll probably know the name Aurosoma.
Yes.
Yeah, so I think that I don't really know, but I think it was a breakout after Vicky Wall. I think there was sort of as far as I understand from my mum, there was sort of a splitting of the ways, and Aurosoma was one of them. But she had the same or nearly identical bottles to the ones that you have there, and she would do stands, very, very colourful stands. So when she died 4 years ago, we had a very, very colourful funeral for her. So you've never seen so much colour in your life. But I always remember her talking about Vicky Wall and learning about this. And she seemed so ahead of her time because I didn't really understand what she was talking about. And it was a little bit over my head. But I liked having a colour reading with her. So that was just one thing. The other thing, when you say get an editor, you make it sound quite easy. Where do you find an editor?
Oh, there are so many of them around. Literally, you can Google book writing editors and ask them for quotes. They will just come up. But also ask within the writing community. I found a book editor here in Canada at an event, a book writing event, and I just asked the person who's editing your stories, and they gave me the name Deborah Ferdinand. And then the next thing, I went to a BMI breakfast meeting. And this young, gorgeous little girl walked in, and she looked very young. And turns out she's actually older than me. It was quite shocking. She turned up, and I instantly liked her. And she introduced herself as Deborah Ferdinand. And I went, "What? I've heard your name before. You edit books." And I immediately filed her name and her energy in, just in my contact list, networking list, because there was something that said to me, she's going to play a role in your future in Canada somewhere. So when it came to actually editing the books, I contacted her first, and she immediately said yes. So, you know, with spiritual work, you put it out there. You don't have to do so much research and hard work. The people will just turn up. It's like magic. But there's always Google.
Okay, there's always Google. So with a book writing group, if you Google, I don't know, something like, I live in Salisbury, so if I was to put book writing group in Salisbury, would that be a good start?
Yeah, that's a good start. Or just say who edits books, because there's a lot of people that are self-publishing, so there's a lot of editors that are freelancing in that field now.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
I think Nick Williams, if you befriended him on Facebook and asked the question, because he's very helpful. And also there's Andy Workman. He's a very nice, lovely guy that's written a book, and I'm sure he'd have ideas about editing. And he's told such synchronistic stories about how his book come into being.
Are they
Andy,
both under their own names, Jackie? Is it, if I just put in
yeah,
Nick
Andy
Williams or
Workman on Facebook, Andy Workman, and Nick Williams.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
There's also groups on Facebook you can join. You can write self-published. Just go into Facebook and put in groups for self-published authors. And you in there, you join the group, pop in a question that says, I'm looking for an editor. I'm in the Salisbury, UK area, and somebody will guide you somewhere.
Okay. Yeah. That's great. Thank you very much.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
Brilliant. So should we just do 10 minutes in a breakout room? Just have a word, and then anything you want to come back and share with us will be great. Just breakout rooms. Silent automatically. Sorry, I'm just gonna look at this one. Oh, I'll pause the recording for a minute as well. Yeah, I just said, how did you meet Amy, Moira? Or did you already say that?
No, it was actually at the person that I went for my other book, the book writing program. She was part of his team at that time, and then I think Sarah De Felice introduced us, who started filming and asking about color mirrors, a young girl into one of these influencer kind of young Facebook social media celebs. And she introduced us, and we just became, started working together on projects from early on.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
But Amy was actually on that workshop where the pearls, Melissa introduced the pearls to the Canadian market in 2018. So Amy was right in the beginning when the pearl energy came in as a color energy. She was part of the work.
Oh, lovely. Did everyone enjoy that breakout room? Find it beneficial just to have a chat? Is there anything anyone wants to feedback from that or ask any questions? I know one question that came up for me while we were in that was about self-publishing or going to a publisher, or what you found the best. And when you say about editing, if you're self-publishing and you've got to get an editor, you're thinking of the cost all the time of all what's involved with that. Yeah, just if you could say a bit on that, Moira, and then if anyone else wants to ask anything.
Yeah, if you're going to self-publish, you're going to have to write it anyway and send it to different publishing houses, and there's not a lot of them left because so many people have gone the route of self-publishing. And then of course Amazon with Kindle has made it so easy that you can do that. So to go to, you'd really, and like Hay House, for example, Hay House have programs that they can choose to publish a book, or you become part of their self-publishing programs. Either way, it's going to, it's going to cost money. And honestly, the way I did it, which was to get people to pay before I print, that is a really, really good option, or to do crowdfunding. Go and do crowdfunding, and that way you get people to buy into your project before you spend money on it. But either way, you're going to have something written that's going to have to come out of you.
And then you've got to get the editing done before you can go to any of that anyway. So
As
yeah,
much
you
of the
just got to,
editing as you can. Yeah, that would be
yeah,
your investment in it. Yeah, but if you're going to go to a publisher, you probably don't want to pay an editor. You want to just give them the raw material, because they will have their own editors. So you could go to the cost of getting someone to edit your works, give it to a publishing house, and they're still going to pull it apart and change it.
lovely. Thank you. Anyone want to feedback with what they sort of had a talk about? Or
I was thinking what you just said, and remember David Hamilton, Jackie, approached, who's one of the top Hay House authors,
yes,
approached every company, and nobody wanted his book at all, and he self-published.
Yeah.
Look, and I think, as we were saying before, when you get that urge to write and you get a download and you know that it's just right, and you can feel it and it's coming from your heart, the door's open.
Yeah, and actually I'm friends with David Hamilton, so I was with him with that process, because he'd gone the self-publishing route, and he was self-published for about 6 months when A House said, hey, we want your book. And then they came to him and said, we want to change the cover. And so they changed it, and he consulted me on the color choices they were giving at that time. So sometimes you have to self-publish first, and then you come to the notice of a publishing house. That could happen. Yeah.
I mean, luckily Joe's managed to get David Hamilton to speak for me a couple of times.
Yeah.
He'd already done a workshop with that Andy Workman that I mentioned, him, because being friends with Andy had managed to get David to come down to Romsey near us and do a workshop day, which was amazing. But since that, I mean, Joe's good friends with him as well, and he's made 2 talks with him. So yeah, wonderful. He's a lovely man.
Oh no, David's beautiful soul. Yeah.
And I think I followed him once I heard I went to one talk, and once I heard that, the main thing he was talking about, the brain can't distinguish between what you see, what you think, what you feel, what you believe. And I was having to give a talk, and I thought that is really, really important. So I sort of stalked him for a while. And but one thing I found, and you found the same thing, Moira, was that as a lecturer, he's so personable. He's if you ask a question, he's with you, and that is so meaningful when people. And I love what you said about it isn't educate. I think you, or maybe I wrote that. It isn't educational; it's real. You made that statement, and I think that's really meaningful, because when you speak from your heart, you know whatever you do, even if it's rejected, you're speaking from your heart, and that is going to affect and have a meaning for someone.
Yes. And that actually brings me to, we've got this mission, this vision that people are going to pay it forward, that they are going to go and print copies and go and give it as donations to various organizations. I don't know if that's going to happen, and I can't force it to happen. Again, I've had to surrender this. This is no longer the author's book. It's no longer Amy's book. It's no longer Moira, the publisher's book. This book now has been created. It's now a baby of the world. And the energies of the world are going to take it and make something of it or not. You have to, at some point, the life force you've put into the baby you've created, at some point you have to give it the car keys and say, off you go, take the car and off you go, and trust that it's not going to crash. So that's also very important, that you know that what you are creating is not yours. You don't have ownership of it. When it's spiritual work, especially, it becomes something that the world begins to own, if that makes sense.
It really makes sense. Very well put. Yes.
Just want to say. So yeah. Oh, we've got Joanne's hand up. Hi. If you unmute, Joanne.
She gave us a thumbs up.
Yeah, it's just a thumbs up.
Oh, okay, that's lovely.
Nothing mean of things to say. I've got very red.
Oh yeah, no, that's fine then. That's
That's because
great.
I was just playing about with that button for the first time. So
Oh yeah, well it's good, isn't it? Anyone else want to share anything from the breakout room? Do you want to finish with anything, Moira?
Oh, just to say thank you so much, Jackie, for inviting me into your community again. Every time I do come in, I just find you all so welcoming and generous and kind, and just, man, it's just like this is what I live for. talk about color and to talk about spirituality, and just to uplift and inspire one another. So you make that happen, Jackie, and I'm really grateful for it. Thank you for inviting me, and thank you so much for sharing and letting me share this
Honestly,
project.
absolutely love the book. Yeah, I really do. And the idea behind it, and that it's, pass it on, and everything about it is a really wonderful concept. So thank you so much, Moira.
No,
Thank you to everyone that's joined tonight. And yeah, see you soon, hopefully. Oh, if anyone wants to find you, because where you don't do those color chats, is that a specific group on Facebook? Do you have
Yes,
to
it's a
ask?
public group, Color Chats with Moira, and I do a show every Monday. And you can just go on YouTube as well, look for Moira Bush, the Moira Bush channel, and there's a whole bunch of recordings from color interviews that I've done and shows that I've done. There's different channels there. Yeah.
Brilliant. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Joe.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.